Hey everybody, welcome into a Flyers game preview. I'm Kevin Durso. This is something a little new here, so if you're joining us from the start of the 2020-21 season, we welcome you. I'll be making a short video prior to every game of the Flyers season, helping to get you ready for the game. Before getting started, this video is brought to you as part of Flyers coverage on sportstalkphilly.com and the YWT podcast. You can catch up with all of your Flyers coverage at sportstalkphilly.com. You can follow me at Kevin_Durso. And find more coverage from me over at 973ESPN.com. Be on the lookout to hear more from me throughout the season as I make appearances on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Hunter Brody and on Game Night with Josh Hennig, leading you into every Flyers game. And of course, listen to myself and Kyle Collington every week on the YWT podcast. We're so excited to get back to bringing you weekly shows and to start talking about Flyers hockey in season once again. So here we go. It's the start of a new season, and it's a different one than we are typically used to. It will not be an 82-game season with a delayed start to the season, bringing us into January in 2021. The NHL season will be 56 games. Obviously, COVID-19 is still presenting some issues, so travel is especially limited, and teams will only be playing with realigned divisions. So the Flyers will face 7 different opponents this season and 8 different times, so we should be very familiar with each by season's end. It all starts tonight as the Flyers take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is the first of 2 games at Wells Fargo Center between the two teams this week. Obviously, by now, you know the core group of players on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yes, Sidney Crosby is back, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, Jake Gensel, Brian Rust. You know the group by now. The Penguins did undergo a few changes. They traded away 2-time Stanley Cup winner Matt Murray, so Tristan Jarry will take the reins for good in Pittsburgh. More on him in a little bit. Jack Johnson is out. Cody Ceci is in. There are a few other small changes around the team, but for the most part, a relatively similar group. The Flyers, they have a few different parts as well. It was mostly a quiet offseason for them, the lone new addition being Eric Gustafsson on the blue line. But the 2 biggest additions to this team are going to be up front, and it's having 2 guys back in the lineup, back in good health, back at full strength, and that's Oskar Lindblom and Nolan Patrick. Oskar Lindblom is really not a surprise here. We already knew the fighter he was, and as he courageously battled Ewing sarcoma as he made his recovery, and ultimately when he returned for the final 2 playoff games. Once that happened, as long as he was in good health and not at risk, he was going to play at the start of this season. Nolan Patrick is a bit of a surprise, and I say that because I don't think anyone really expected him to be able to just step back in like he never missed any time. It certainly looked that way so far. He will be tested against the opposition and not his own teammates. It's going to be different now that he's out of a practice setting. But the fact that he will be on the ice and in a game tonight speaks volumes to where his health is and to the shape he is in and his potential to have not played in a competitive game in nearly 2 years, get a 1-week training camp and make your return that quickly, right back into the spot everyone thought you were going to have a year ago. It could be huge for this team. Now, I don't want to get too deep on expectations for each player. Lindblom is now a cancer survivor. He's got a clean bill of health. That's all wonderful, but I don't think he's coming out scoring at a 30-goal pace. I hope he's in a position to contribute solidly this season. Same thing with Patrick. I don't think he's going to come out firing right away or be on pace for outrageous numbers, but if he can give you a solid season and add to the scoring depth and the balance that the forward group appears to have, it can be a successful season for this team. So let's jump in now and take a look at tonight's projected goalie matchup. And no surprise, the Flyers are going with Carter Hart in the season opener. And why not? Hart was outstanding on home ice last season. He figures to be, again, playing in the team's own building, not in a bubble this time around like the playoffs. He's now in his 3rd season. The expectations for him are going to be high, but he's also a guy who has embraced that every step of the way in his career so far. He's got the chops. He's got the ability to take this team a long way. It's a clean slate for him as well, and I'm sure we're looking forward to seeing where this chapter of his career goes because his 2nd NHL season, first full one, he really brought himself into the spotlight even further. And as he said in training camp, he's not out here to be just another NHL player or another NHL goalie. He wants to be the best goalie in the league, and that's really setting high expectations for himself as much as the expectations are high elsewhere. On the other side, Tristan Jarry for the Penguins, an all-star from a season ago, a guy who clearly got the attention of the Penguins and forced them to make a decision. He's the reason that Matt Murray is no longer in Pittsburgh, and now he has the spotlight completely on him in that situation. There is no safety net with Marc-Andre Fleury or with Matt Murray. It's the Tristan Jarry show, and Pittsburgh might really need him to carry them at times because it's no secret, Pittsburgh has a lot of talent up front. They can certainly attack you with speed, skill, and scoring. But if they start to get silenced in that department and frustration sets in, Can Jarry be perfect on a nightly basis? Can he steal you a game or two when the offense isn't going, especially when every game matters so much? That's going to be the big question. You have to expect that after a long layoff like this over the summer, there aren't going to be many teams out there who come out firing on all cylinders. The Penguins could certainly be one of those teams from an offensive standpoint. Goals could be hard to come by, and you're going to need Tristan Jarry to be the star of the team if that's the case. So next we move on to our players to watch. For the Flyers, this is an easy one. It's Nolan Patrick, his first game back in nearly 2 years. He scored a goal in the scrimmage on Sunday. It's been nice to see him back on the ice. He could be in a good spot to possibly get some more opportunities offensively, playing on the third line with James Van Riemsdyk and Jake Voracek. That could present some really good matchups for him. It could lead to some more scoring chances for him, maybe a way to get on the board early in his season. It's really hard to believe that any player is more deserving of being in this player to watch spot for the Flyers than Oscar Lindblom. Had Lindblom not made his return in the playoffs, that would easily be the case. For Patrick, this is more than just trying to perform and contribute at a high level. This is about showing you can keep up with an NHL pace against a division rival. It's about showing that the days of missing time due to injury are behind you, and you can be a durable player this season. Doesn't mean he's home free yet. It doesn't mean his health is suddenly a non-story or it's no longer a concern. But if he can contribute and continue to get out there and play, and he's obviously feeling very well, then it's going to be great to see him back on the ice. And here's to the start of a big year for him, because it's great to see him make his return. For the Penguins, it's obviously Sidney Crosby. It's really hard to say how any team is going to look at the start of this season. It was an incredibly short training camp. There were no preseason games. There hasn't been a lot of opportunities to try to get into game shape and create game conditions. If any player can come in and be that player for the Pittsburgh Penguins that can carry the offense, be a dynamic player, it's going to be Crosby. His success against the Flyers, first and foremost, speaks for itself, but his success throughout his career is really what dictates this, and I think that's what makes him the player to watch for the Penguins tonight. So there you have it. That's our game preview. Check back here after the game for live reaction from Kyle Collington. I'll be back with you ahead of Friday's game. Once again, be sure to subscribe to the YWT podcast on YouTube to be notified of all of our previews and recaps. Be sure to follow along during tonight's game. I'll be providing coverage and analysis at my Twitter at Kevin_Durso. You can also get game updates at Flyerdelphia. A reminder, you can read more about this game and get possible line combinations and more stats in my game preview over at sportstalkphilly.com and 97.3ESPN.com. You can read up on the game with my recap post-game, as well as my 5 takeaways from every game. So with that, enjoy the game, everyone, and we'll see you next time for the next Flyers game preview.